Welcome to part 1 of the social studies blueprint or cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it. We're hoping that when you get ready to start your state exam, you use that scratch sheet of paper to jot down some information before you start. The first thing we're going to start with are the eras in order, so we're going to use our wrap. Every rapper collects extra Jordans when it's really sick cool red. Okay. Now, if we can get our eras down in order, it's a great way to kind of remember the things that we've talked about and make connections. So we have exploration and colonization. Next, we had revolution, constitution, early republic, Jackson, westward expansion, and the Industrial Revolution. And here I'll put industrialization. We had reform. Sectionalism and Civil War were bundled this year. Sectionalism and Civil War. And last but not least, we had Reconstruction. Once you have these written down, when you get to questions on the test, you can always reference one and think, what was happening at the time of the event in the question. I'm going to go ahead and section off here a little bit of a line. Now, another thing that we talked about that we definitely want to memorize are the 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights. And so I'm going to put numbers 1, and I'll leave a little bit of space. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are bundled because they're very similar. 8, 9, and 10. Now, for wraps, okay? Religion, assembly, petition, press, and finally speech. You know, if there's only one amendment that you can memorize and jot down, it's going to be the first one. Very, very, very heavily tested. The second, we have the right to bear arms. Third is the no quartering of soldiers. And I'll shorten these up. No quartering. And then the fourth, it's no search or seizure. The Fifth Amendment includes a lot of due process rights. Well, we include the Miranda rights if you're arrested. So I'm going to put here the right to remain silent, one of those big ones. 6 and 7 is trial by jury if accused of a crime. 8, no cruel or unusual punishments. That's another big one that we see every year. Number 9, this one's a little bit tricky, but it just basically means all of the rights not listed in the Constitution are kept by the people. Sometimes you'll hear the word enumerated rights. And of course, our 10th Amendment, federalism, rights shared by the state and federal, central, and national government. I'm going to section off here. Now, as you fill in, it might be a good idea to pause as much as you need so that you don't feel stressed out trying to fill this all in. Another big idea that we were trying and practicing with this year was our 4 major conflicts, and we used the acronym FALC. So let's start filling in a little bit about this. We had the French and Indian War, we had the American Revolution, we had the War of 1812, and the Civil War. And the main things that are talked about in questions in the STAR test are the causes and effects of these. And so that's what we're going to jot down now. The cause of the French and Indian War was about territory, and the effect was the proclamation of 1763. The American Revolution cause was British taxes and lack of representation. And the effect was independence. The War of 1812 cause was British impressment of sailors. And the effect was U.S. industrialization. And finally, the Civil War caused slavery and effect those very important amendments protecting the rights of the freedmen. Now we're almost done for part 1 of our video. We're almost done. The only 2 wars where we looked at any type of specific battles was the Revolution and the Civil War. So here for Revolution, I'm just going to jot down Lexington and Concord. We had the turning point in Saratoga. The final battle, well, I suppose we could put Valley Forge as well. Even though it wasn't necessarily a battle, it was a very important winter training camp. And last but not least, Yorktown. We ended the war with the Peace Treaty of Paris. Now the Civil War. We're going to jot down a few of very important people. Our Union leaders were Lincoln and Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. And in the Confederate side, we had Jefferson Davis leading the states, and the General Robert E. Lee. Now our battles, we started with Fort Sumter, then we had Antietam, the turning point at Gettysburg, and then we had the Battle of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And we did add on to this one the location of surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. That's it for part 1. We've got a lot of great information here. See you in part 2.